Behind these boxes are 12 phrases you should try to use in your Spanish writing and speaking exams to get a grade 9. I'm going to give you an example of how to use each one. Vamos. Starting with siempre he soñado con. This means I have always dreamed of. So he soñado is in the present perfect tense, one of those sort of higher tier tenses that you should always try and use in your exams. And siempre is just the word for always, and then con is with, so you're almost saying I have dreamed always with is the direct translation, but you're saying I've always dreamed of doing something, some sort of verb. So I would continue this with an infinitive. So to give you some examples, I'm going to write the examples down in, let's do it in black. So I could say siempre he soñado con viajar, so travel, por el mundo. So I've always dreamed of traveling around the world por el mundo. Or I could say something like tener una casa grande or anything along those lines, anything with an infinitive, something that you've always dreamed of doing, for example, since you were a kid. Next, we're going to move on to es una buena oportunidad para. And this means it is a good opportunity to. This is more of a sort of in the middle of a sentence. You wouldn't really start off a sentence like this, but I could say trabajar, if I do it in black, maybe trabajar en el extranjero, which is the word for abroad. So working abroad, trabajar en el extranjero es una buena oportunidad para, and then I can end this off by saying maybe conocer gente nueva, so to meet new people. So this works sort of in the middle of a sentence as a reason for something. So if the question was about, do you want to work abroad, or why is working abroad important or a good thing, you could say it is a good opportunity to. So after para, you're going to have the infinitive, conocer, whatever you want to say, any sort of infinitive after para. Maybe another example, el verano, so the summer, es una buena oportunidad para, and I could say descansar, so another verb here, infinitive descansar, y pasar tiempo con mi familia. So that's es una buena oportunidad para. Okay, moving on to our third phrase, which is the one behind this box. So, voy a volver la semana que viene. This means I am going to return, is that word volver, return, next week or the following week. I've mentioned la semana que viene before, but this is a really good common time phrase to say next week. It's saying the week that comes or the week that's coming, the following week, all that sort of thing in English. So you can probably see where you can use this in your writing, but for example, if you talk about restaurants and maybe going to a country, we can say, I love this place, or I went here last week and I'm going to return again, or next week, etc. So I could say, me encantó. So in the preterite, I loved, me encantó el restaurante. Assuming we've already mentioned the restaurant before, me encantó el restaurante y voy a volver. I could change la semana que viene into anything else, so I could say y voy a volver la semana próxima. Any sort of future time marker, it could be in el futuro or anything like that, but voy a volver, I'm going to return, is that near future tense. It's just a good sort of sentence to include in that preterite tense descriptions about going to restaurants and stuff like that. Just another example maybe about sort of countries. So I could say fui a Italia hace 2 meses. So 2 months ago I went to Italy y voy a volver el año próximo. Just another example there in terms of countries. Let's work our way down to mis padres dicen que, my parents say that. I always say, if you've run out of things to say, talk about other people and other tenses. And this is the present tense, but it's someone else's opinion. We're talking about my parents here. So just like any sort of present tense statement, you could say mis padres dicen que es, if I do it in black, for example, es importante, blah, blah, blah. Maybe es importante estudiar mucho. So my parents say that it is important to study a lot. Your classic present tense sort of sentence here, we're talking about my parents to give someone else's opinion. You could also obviously swap this out for something else. So I could say mi hermano, I could say mi tío, etc. Mi padre, a single person. And this mis would have to become me in these cases here because these are all single people, not sort of plural, not more than one. Another example as well in terms of changing mis padres or changing the thinking, I could say según, which is that word according to según mis padres. Padres, I said. Oops. And you can continue by saying es importante estudiar mucho. So según and saying, someone says that using decir, is that affirmative, which is to say or to tell, is a really good way of adding extra information instead of just your own opinion. Okay, moving up here now. This one is es bueno, malo o perjudicial para la salud. So it's either you can say it's good, bad, like harmful, perjudicial, harmful to your health or to health in general. Para la salud. I could say para mi salud as well. This is a common sort of sentence that you guys are going to see in the sort of environment topic, saying something's maybe even like social media is bad for your health, or something in the environment is bad for your health, or is good for your health, maybe exercise. So I could actually say, hacer ejercicio is how we say to do exercise. So to do exercise or doing exercise is good, in this case, obviously good for your health, because. And then I can give a reason. So, porque reduce maybe el estrés. It reduces el estrés. ¿Vale? On the flip side, another sort of theme too for AQA that would be using verbs like fumar, so to smoke. Fumar es malo o perjudicial para la salud. Again, porque blah blah blah. You can say maybe porque puede, so instead of using an adjective, maybe porque puede, because it can causar like illnesses, which would be the word enfermedades. So there's lots of ways of using these sentences, but that's the good one there. And it can be applied to a wide variety of contexts. Things can be good, bad for your health, etc. You could even say maybe social media or technology is bad for los ojos. If I do it in red here, maybe it's bad for your eyes, it's bad for your lungs. A lot of different nouns you can put in that place. And you can obviously swap it out for different adjectives here as well. Okay, let's keep it moving. This is now our sixth one, I believe. This is si fuera posible. This is our first one, which is in a very different tense because it's the imperfect subjunctive. So fuera is in the imperfect subjunctive. It means the same thing as fue, it was, but in this case it's more it were. So I would translate it as if, which is that word si. Si without the accent on the I is if. With the accent it becomes yes. So if it were possible. And we can continue this with some sort of conditional statement. So I would like to do something. So si fuera posible, me gustaría, I would like to, and then continue that as you wish. So maybe me gustaría vivir en los Estados Unidos. So using other countries apart from just España, using America, los Estados Unidos, porque. Or I could even say ya que to change things up instead of repeating porque. There are other ways of saying because. We've got ya que, dado que, ya que. What reason can I give? Weather. Hace buen tiempo. Super easy and simple there. Okay, let me give you another example just because I think we're doing two examples for each of these. Another condition instead of me gustaría, I could say si fuera posible, maybe compraría, I would buy. And then, una casa, blah, 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 whatever you can say there. But you can conjugate, obviously, the verb and the condition. It doesn't just have to be using me gustaría. But me gustaría is mostly easier because you can just repeat that every single time instead of having to worry about how to conjugate with the endings. So that's si fuera posible. That's one of the imperfect subjunctive structures we're going to talk about. And this should say subjunctive, not subject. Subjunctive. I've got a whole grammar video that goes through subjunctive at the end of it and covers all the tenses, so I'll link that in the description. Okay, moving, so that covers those six there if I zoom out for you. We've got six more to cover. Let's cover this one down here, which is trabajo como un burro. This means I work como un burro. Burro is the word for donkey, actually. But in reality, this just means I work my socks off. It's one of those idiomatic phrases, I work my socks off. This is one of the easier idioms to use in your work. And mainly this is going to be in your studying topic, in your school topic. Maybe talking about revising for exams, working a job, something like that. So I could say durante los exámenes, during the exams, siempre trabajo como un burro. I always work my socks off como un burro. Y I could say like in order to para sacar buenas notas, to get good grades, sacar buenas notas. We're not going to change como un burro as the idiom, that is fine, but we can change trabajo into different tenses, different people. So I could say mi madre trabaja, she works, or la semana pasada I worked, la semana pasada, and to say I worked in that preterite trabajé, the e on the accent with a accent on that e. So that's, you can obviously change in different tenses as well. But that's the idiom trabajo como un burro, maybe one of the easy idioms that you can use in your work. I've got other videos that cover loads of other idioms, but try and use idioms that you know how to conjugate, so you know how to conjugate trabajar, the infinitive, and that are easy to use in various contexts. But this one is mainly going to be for that maybe school topic and jobs topic. Seventh one here is actually probably my favorite one, the one I used to use a lot when I was in GCSE doing my exams. It is a waste of money, de dinero, or you can have time, which is a waste of time, it's a waste of money, a waste of any resource. You can have here any other noun that is, a resource that could be wasted, for example. Perdida comes from the verb perder, to lose. So it's almost like a loss instead of a waste, maybe, but in English, we'd more likely probably say waste. Really, really easy one to use in all different contexts. This is probably the most usable one in different areas. I could say something that's clearly a waste of money. So maybe comprar, ropa cara, or ropa de marca is how we say like designer clothes. De marca, like branded clothes. So comprar ropa de marca es una pérdida, with the accent on the e. Even though accents on nouns don't matter too much, don't worry too much about that. But es una pérdida de dinero. And then I could say maybe ya que es demasiado cara, for example. On the flip side, to use time, maybe like usar las redes sociales. Instead of saying es, I'm going to change the s into puede ser to be maybe a bit more sophisticated. I'm going to say it can be versus it is. So puede ser una pérdida de tiempo in this case. I could say para los jóvenes to, give a bit more detail. For children, para los jóvenes. Loads of examples. That is probably my favorite one. Es una pérdida de dinero o tiempo. You can say de comida, other nouns as well there. Okay, what is this one? I think it's lo que más. Yeah, it is. So, lo que más me gusta es que. What I like most is that. And just a side note here, the difference between que and lo que is quite confusing. Lo que means what, which is also what que means. Lo que is used to refer to like a concept. Almost, how about this? Think of lo que as the thing that. If you can translate what you're trying to say in your sentence as the thing that, you're going to use lo que. If it's just that or what, you're more likely going to use que. But lo que is a really common sort of way of just saying what. And here we can have me gusta can be in different tenses as well. So maybe gustaba, what I used to like. Gusto, what I liked. And s can change into maybe era for the imperfect, fue for the preterite, etc. So let me give you some examples in just the present tense to keep it simple. I could say lo que más me gusta es que, talk about school, mi colegio es grande, maybe. Another example, maybe talking about people. So lo que más me gusta es que mi hermano es alto. Various uses there. And one more thing I'm going to add before I move on is other ways of using lo que at the start of a sentence. So, Let's do this in a nice orange color. I could say lo que odio es, what I hate is, and use it in a similar way. I could say lo que me molesta es or es que. So lots of different ways of using lo que at the start of a sentence. It's a really good sentence starter in my opinion. Okay, moving on to si tuviera la opción quisiera. This, hopefully you can spot if I highlight it, is our second one in the subjunctive. This is, again, just like fuera, this is your imperfect subjunctive. So if I had the option, and then quisiera is also the imperfect subjunctive, but it's translated as I would like. So if I had the option, I would like. After quisiera, you can have a noun or an infinitive, normally an infinitive, so you can say I would like to do some sort of infinitive, but it can also be a noun. And yeah, tuviera is your imperfect subjunctive there. You may see the word, how do I spell it? Tuviese, which has that same meaning as tuviera. In case you didn't know, the imperfect subjunctive has two sets of endings which are both the same. So tuviese is the same word as tuviera, it's just spelled differently, but it means the same thing, and grammatically it's still the imperfect subjunctive, it's the same thing. And that si again is if without the accent on the I. So I could say si tuviera la opción, quisiera, this is a sentence starter, so I could say quisiera vivir en un país bonito, or I could say un país cálido for hot, or like warm, vivir en un país cálido todo el año, all year, or like the whole year round. To give you an option with a noun, quisiera, what can I say? All I can think of is, I can think of maybe estudiar, I would like to study, maybe in the school topic, aprender. You could go straight into saying quisiera una casa, una piscina. So nouns in that way as well. You can have nouns, but maybe it's more common just to have the infinitives. Maybe easier that way. And now we only have these two left. So this one is hay mucho que hacer. There is a lot to do. So for the topic of region, so describing your city, describing your región, that's the topic that's going to be really useful here. Hay mucho que hacer. I could say en mi barrio, en mi ciudad. Barrio is the word for neighborhood. Ciudad, city, pueblo, región, all those sort of words that describe the place where you live. And you can make this into a longer sentence. So, for example, en mi ciudad hay mucho que hacer. Como, to give examples, using como, which is like such as. Como, I could say ir al cine, maybe ir al centro comercial, so the shopping center, centro comercial. Let's backtrack and talk about, there's other sort of situations you can use it in school maybe. So en mi escuela, I could say primaria, talk about the past. If I did that, I would change to había, which is that past tense. There was or there used to be. So en mi escuela primaria, maybe siempre había mucho que hacer, como blah blah blah, talking about maybe a primary school or like a past description. So that's hay mucho que hacer, quite a short one. And last but not least, tenemos mucho en común, which hopefully you can work out it means we have a lot in common. This is going to be used in sort of your theme one, so talking about identity and people, so basically the topic about people, talking about family, something like me llevo bien. If I say me llevo bien con mi mejor amigo, my best friend, mi mejor amigo, dado que tenemos mucho en común. And that would be a really good sentence there. It can be negative. I could say aunque, although, which is a really good word there to give sort of positive negative. So aunque somos hermanos, even though we are siblings, maybe no tenemos mucho en común, as that negative there, to say that we don't have a lot in common. So that covers 12 really good phrases that you should start learning and using in your exams. I've got other videos just like this showing you how to prepare for all of your GCSE Spanish exams. Good luck with your revision and adios!